Good evening and welcome to the Star Chamber Show live podcast. It is a great Wednesday evening here in central Kentucky where I, Stephen Zimmer, am broadcasting from. And it's going to be a great show tonight. And I'm really looking forward to tonight's guest. We've got a special one for you coming up after our early segment. And joining me in the co-hosting chair tonight in progress is the audacious, the vivacious, and the loquacious Holly Phillippe. Yes, she will be here. She will. She's things got iffy today because, of course, tomorrow is the Thanksgiving holiday across the United States, and those of you traveling and celebrating, we wish you a great one and a safe one, and definitely. So I guess you could say that tonight is our Thanksgiving special on the Star Chamber Show, but we're definitely thankful for all of our listeners, wherever you may be. Got a great international audience too, and yeah, we're thankful for all of you. You guys are absolutely great. You're the reason we do the show, and we're always going to strive to put the spotlight on independent creatives, whether they be writers, filmmakers, artists, all sorts of folks, and we definitely appreciate it. And if you do want to follow us online, of course, we have dedicated platforms on Facebook, X, Blue Sky, and Instagram. And of course, since we're affiliated with the Imaginarium Convention, we definitely, of course, promote the show through there as well. And looks like chat room is starting to get some folks coming in tonight. That I know a lot of you are traveling, so I don't know how many people are going to be showing up tonight, but I do see award-winning filmmaker and screenwriter and podcaster Amy Lee McCorkle and award-winning screenwriter and author Carol Pre-Flattish among the first few in. And Carol is doing a great holiday book event up there in LaGrange. Tony Acree has a great one going on this Saturday in LaGrange, and it's a holiday book fair. And unfortunately, I was actually originally supposed to be there, but things have there's a lot of tumult here right now because of our home situation with Holly's daughter's pregnancy. So Holly's actually having to leave after Thanksgiving right away to go up to Indiana, and we've just got a lot of stuff flying all at the same time. Perfect storm of craziness. And so, yeah, unfortunately, I was really looking forward to being there, but can't make it. But Carol Pre-Flattish and a bunch of amazing authors are going to be up there with Tony Acree in LaGrange, Kentucky this Saturday. So you definitely want to check that out. Yeah, it's going to be a great book fair with a lot of great writers across a broad range of genres. And hello to you, Amy. I see your comment in the chat room. Really appreciate you and all the hard work you do. And Amy recently completed a feature film. So yeah, congrats. That's a lot of work. One thing you know about Amy is she's always working hard, always doing a great job out there, and keeps one of the most relentless creatives that I have known across the years. And grateful for all of you. So, but as we are part of the Imaginarium Convention, I do want to give you some of the latest updates, and this has been a big week. I actually thought I was going to have two guests of honor to share with you tonight, but we only have gone public with one this week. A second one will be our third guest of honor, will be announced hopefully Monday. I think it's 99.8% confirmed. We always have to be careful with things before we go public. So, but it looks like Monday we should be able to go live with that. And so, yes, this year we're actually going to have three guests of honor. First time we've done that. Last year we had two guests of honor. This year we're going to have three guests of honor. So, hey, we're taking some interesting strides and really looking forward to it. But on that note, we did announce #1 New York Times bestselling author and podcaster Scott Sigler as a guest of honor, joining Heather Graham in the guest of honor area of Imaginarium 2026. Really excited about that. He has just written a slew of 27 novels, numerous novellas, short stories, and of course, he's also a highly accomplished podcaster with thousands of podcast episodes. Literally, he has the longest running fiction podcast in the country. He's even got a very diehard following called the Sigler Junkies, and his podcasts have been downloaded over 50 million times. Yes, that's 50 million episodes have been downloaded and counting. And of course, he's been on top of the Amazon charts, and of course, the New York Times hit the #1 spot, and just a great guy, and really fits with the Imaginarium vibe and what we're about. And I couldn't be happier to have him joining us this coming summer. So, Scott Sigler, that's right, folks. Some really good news as a guest of honor. Today, we also had another big guest. We announced author, podcaster, and comedian Brent Terhune as a spotlighted guest. And Brent was named one of Variety's 10 comics to watch back in 2020, just a few years ago. And he has accumulated more than 65 million views across his social media channels. He has been writing for the nationally syndicated Bob and Tom Show for more than 10 years and has even had 2 comedy albums debut at #1 on iTunes, and he's streamed heavily on Sirius XM. He's a great performer. He's hilarious. He's hilarious, and you definitely want to check his stuff out if you get a chance. He's a really funny comedian and a really good guy, and he's going to be joining us. But he's a major guest announcement as well. And then, last but not least, as far as the new guests announced. We have award-winning filmmaker, screenwriter, actor, musician, and special effects makeup artist Claude D. Miles as a spotlighted guest. And he and Sven Granlund started Kentucky Creature Effects, which is a really top-tier makeup and special effects company based here in Kentucky. Hollywood caliber, of course. Sven is a world-class SFX artist himself, and they're just awesome. And Claude actually has the distinction of being the founder of Kentucky's first SAG signatory new media company with Catnippery Productions, his production company. So, yeah, he's done a lot of cool stuff, and he's a great guy, great filmmaker, and won one of our independent filmmakers spotlight awards last year. But he will be a spotlighted guest coming next summer. And then also, I do want to thank very, very dearly Chris Helvey for becoming an Imaginarium 2026 individual patron. He is one of the co-founders of the Bluegrass Writers Coalition, and also an award-winning novelist, and also a poet and a publisher, and just a great guy in our region, and definitely does great work. And I really appreciate him coming on as an individual patron. And because all of that helps right now, because we're really trying to build and spread awareness, bring in more great guests and programming for you guys, and definitely want to do everything we can in that area for you. So if you do want to check out our sponsorships, they really, the tiers aren't that much, if you're looking at a full sponsorship, but check them out on the site. And then, of course, our individual patron slots, and because these really do help, and they do offer many months of promotion for any kind of service, business, if you're just an author doing it, anything like that.
And they make great gifts. You can also buy one and for someone and say, hey, I want to, do a sponsorship in their name.
Yeah, you could do that. That's a good idea, Holly. I never actually thought of that. Buying a sponsorship as a gift for somebody. Yes.
Yeah, why not?
We have had, I know Sandy Lender has got an individual patron sponsorship in the name of one of her book characters before.
Yeah, she has.
Which is a unique thing. But hello, Holly. Yeah, good. I didn't know exactly when you'd be piping in, because I know you've had quite the day.
Oh, it ain't over, but yeah, I've been cooking and cleaning since I hit the floor. When I got up, it's been a wild one.
It's been a wild one, but
hey, I got my turkey done for tomorrow.
Yes.
Happy Thanksgiving Eve, everyone. Yeah, I've already got my turkey done. I just got to make my gravy and some veggies and stuff. But I got pies done. I got deviled eggs done. Banana pudding. I got all kinds of stuff. Cheese balls. I did everything today by myself, mind you.
Yeah.
by myself. Thank
Yep.
you. And I cleaned the house.
Pulled it
So,
off solo. Yeah,
bam.
Holly pulled it off solo. Fantastic. And yeah, we're definitely gonna eat well tomorrow, to say the least.
Yeah.
I told everybody tonight is kind of unofficially the Star Chamber Show Thanksgiving special. So
Good.
that's what we're doing. But it's going to be fun. Oh man! But I do want to mention, since you did mention Christmas gifts and holidays, we do have both single day event tickets and full weekend event tickets on discount right now for just a few more weeks. So if you're doing any Black Friday shopping or shopping this weekend, do consider getting somebody in your life a Imaginarium event ticket, because you can give them the experience of a great experience with great memories, and that's the kind of thing that lasts with people. So think about
Yeah.
gifting
And you
somebody.
know, it doesn't have to stay, it's digital. Yeah, all they have to do is, put their name in when they come in, they'll have a badge.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also, print that out and your proof of purchase and put it in a Christmas card
Yeah.
and give it to someone too.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, because you will get an email confirmation on that. So
Yep.
yeah, I can
Yep.
surprise somebody with that and send them to Imaginarium next year. That'd be fantastic. Where you'll be able to see tonight's guest. So, but I want to get over to that. So, yeah, I'm going to make sure we stay on time. And so now I'm going to recognize the folks that brought you tonight's show. So, the Thanksgiving special is brought to you by Sandy Lender, the genre blender, and I'll have to give her a special Thanksgiving call tomorrow. She's just the best, and of course the wonderful folks at Per Bostet Entertainment, Per Bostet Publishing. Yeah, I want to.
They are entertaining.
They are entertaining. They are. I think, yeah, they do need to expand and just be like a full media company and do feature
Yeah,
films and everything
they're
else.
very
But yeah,
entertaining.
I think we just hit an idea. I'm going to talk to Teely Harris and of course Sarah Marion and Marion Allen. We'll have to throw it by them as an idea. But here I'll give you a little bit about Sandy. Then we'll go to Per Bostet, and then we'll bring on tonight's guest. Here's a little bit from Sandy.
Star Chamber listeners already know that author Sandy Lender offers you a variety of spec fiction and epic fantasy adventures to help you escape reality. Did you know she also offers positive, quirky book discussions and reviews on her BookTube channel, Sandy Says Read? Check out the Sandy Says Read channel on YouTube for over 600 book chats to entertain you. The channel includes the Indie Book Spotlight and the DIY for Creatives playlists, along with others to help you find videos and essays that pique your literary interests. Subscribe for free to the Sandy Says Read channel in time for the Monday night upload and join the community where our motto is, you can always find something good in a book.
Thank you, Sandy. And yes, folks, it takes only a minute to go over to Sandy Says Read channel on YouTube. It's at Sandy Says Read, straight through, no spaces, if you're looking up the handle for Sandy Says Read. But yeah, give them a follow, and tell Sandy that you found out about the channel here. Definitely. And now for Per Bostet. Per Bostet Publications is a small press based in the Louisville metro area, specializing in speculative fiction and other outside-the-box books. With 40 titles in print and ebook formats and a handful of audiobooks, Per Bostet offers a little bit of everything. Check out Frenemies in Space, Marion Allen's new science fiction short story collection featuring return character Smartmouth Connie Phelan. Or try Michael Dabney's latest David Blaze mystery, A Deadly Game, a prequel set in 1984 Philly. You can find these titles and more at perbostetpublications.com, at Amazon, or you can find the press in person at Kentucky and Indiana book fairs and conventions. Per Bostet Publications, where timeless tales unfold. And perhaps Per Bostet Entertainment sometime in the future. Yes, thank you very much.
They do entertain us.
Yeah.
We still haven't got to go hang out with them.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
were
I know.
supposed to this fall, and everything's just happened.
Yes. I gave a little, without getting bogged down in that, I gave a little bit of that info as to why I wouldn't be at the Tony Acree's holiday book
Yes,
fair Saturday.
I have
But,
a
but,
new
but I did,
baby that's
but I
going to
did,
be
but I
here
did
on
say,
Tuesday.
Carol would be there, and that's reason enough to go to any book event.
That's
So
right. That's right.
there you go, folks. So now I'm going to roll into our guest tonight, because we are actually on time. It's amazing. Sometimes we are. It's rare, but we are. So, yes, tonight's guest is appearing on the Star Chamber Show for the first time. And he is a great writer who brings a flair of the speculative, the literary, and the poetic. His credits include The Garden at the Roof of the World, and Johnny Talon and The Goddess of Love, and the reality, mythology, and fantasies of unicorns. Yes, he is a unicorn expert, and also has received
Wow.
some accolades, like being a semi-finalist for the Ozma Award and on the short list for the Shelley Award. So it is my honor and privilege to bring on to the Star Chamber show for the very first time W.B.J. Williams. And
Yay!
your microphone is on. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, everybody. A pleasure to meet you all. And please call me Walt. I go,
Yes.
yeah,
Walt.
yeah, Walt. I go by my
Love that
initials
name.
because there's a really great guy, Walter John Williams, who writes speculative fiction. And so if I published my fiction as Walter Williams or Walter Bernard Williams, he might think I'm trying to leech his fame just a little bit. And he and I sat next to each other at Worldcon a few years ago on the same panel, and
Awesome.
had a great time with it. Um, and everybody is trying to figure out, okay, so which one is Walt, which
Who
one
is
is
who?
Walter, and which
Well,
one?
there is another Steven Zimmer too that
Yes.
writes,
Writes
except he writes
westerns. He
westerns.
writes westerns. So we've
Yeah,
gotten confused before. He spells it with the VEN, and then I'm a PH. But yes, I
yeah,
understand. I
Yeah,
understand, Walt.
we get you.
Yeah, we
yeah,
understand.
But that's
I,
cool you got to meet
yeah,
yours. See,
no,
we ain't met the other Steven Zimmer yet.
Yeah.
yeah. He's a really nice gent. Writes great fiction, and
Oh,
while I wouldn't mind at all for his readers to find my work, I want to do it honestly through the quality of the fiction rather than,
Right.
yeah, I'm
yeah.
stealing your fame because I'm publishing under Walter B. Williams, which is, or even
Yeah.
worse, Walter J. Williams.
Yeah. Well, we Holly and I were talking though. It would be fun to invite the other Steven Zimmer up to Imaginarium, because
Yes.
then everybody could bug him for all the problems during the weekend at the convention that we always have to deal with, and then leave me alone.
Be like,
I
you
get a
have to
break.
talk to Steven Zimmer.
Yeah,
That guy over there, that's Steven
yeah,
Zimmer.
that would be great.
Yeah,
But no, I was going to say, yeah, if the other Mr. Williams is reading your fiction, I know they would find it quite good, because I have had the privilege of delving deep into one of your manuscripts, and yeah, and like I said, you just have such a great quality of writing, and your touches of speculative and literary and poetic aspects.
thank
Love
you.
it, and love
Yeah,
it, and that's what I'm here to talk about with you tonight. And
yeah, thank
Holly.
you. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that project is Absinthe and Alchemy, and I'm in the
Mm.
process of trying to find a good agent to represent it. And I think I just perfected the query, and I'm really excited about this project. I started writing it about 10 years ago, and it takes a while to do a good book, especially when you're doing it part time. And so while I was writing this book, I was working as a full time information security executive, as well as working on two bits of fun nonfiction that are coming out next year. I was editing one of them earlier today, and that one is a time traveler's guide to the 13th century. And
Ooh.
yeah, it's a fairly short book. It's got a lot of photographs in it, and the idea is if you happen to step into the 13th century, well, what would be fun to visit? Uh,
Yeah, that's what I was going to
oh,
ask you. What demographically, where are you going with this book?
oh, all over the place, all over the place. I've got the manuscript in front of me. Let me scroll up to the table of contents and tell you some of the places that the Acme Time Travel Agency might take you to. It might take you to places as far away as Mayapan and the Mayan Empire, or the Cusco, which is just
Mhm.
starting to become what will be the capital of the Inca Empire.
Nika, yes.
Yeah, you might find
Nice.
yourself in Great Zimbabwe or Timbuktu, where the greatest treasure they have in the city of gold is their library. You might find yourself in Cairo or Angkor or Linan, known to us today as Hangzhou. You might find yourself in Baghdad before the Mongol conquest, or
Hi.
Constantinople before the Fourth
Yes.
Crusade, Venice before it erupted into the power of the Mediterranean, or even Rome and Paris. And those are just some of the cities you can visit through the Acme Travel Agency.
Oh, that sounds so much fun.
Oh,
Oh my God.
a lot of people think history is
I will be
boring
getting
and
that one.
tedious. Yeah. And you can have a lot of fun with it. So why not?
Oh, definitely.
Well,
Stephen knows
I could,
I'm a I love it. I love it. I'd rather be
well,
back then than living in now. Yeah.
you
I
know
was
me, Holly. You know me,
I was
Holly. I would be
born
going
way,
back.
way late.
I always loved the Byzantines, so I'd be going back to warn them about those rascal Venetians, getting
Yeah.
ready to cause
Yeah,
trouble.
right? Right?
Yes.
Yeah, that
It
was a
changed a
very,
lot.
very sad year, 1204 CE.
Yeah.
Very sad year.
Yeah.
Lots of wonderful things lost forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
True.
But
That's true.
just don't visit Constantinople that year, and you'll be okay.
No, that's right. It
Yeah.
was a beautiful, beautiful city, a wonderful, um, thing going on
That's
until it wasn't, right?
well,
Yeah.
what I love and always like to remind people is that the Roman Empire did not exactly end in 476. It went
No.
on
No,
another 1,000 years in the east. So
Yep.
that's true.
It ended in
yeah,
1453.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
That's what people forget.
another sad year. Now, this is a companion piece to my first novel, The Garden at the Roof of the World. I did a fair amount of research in putting it together, trying to make it accurate for both the history as well as the cultures of the peoples within the novel. And the publisher asked me to do three companion pieces. The reality, mythology, and fantasies of unicorns was the first of the companion pieces because it's a story about unicorns. And there's a lot of lore and legend about unicorn. Like the dragon,
Ooh.
it's the only mythological creature that shows up cross culturally. And so you have you have myths about unicorn in Japan, in
Hmm.
China, in India, in the Near East, obviously throughout Europe, uh, and even in Africa. Not so much here in the New World, though, until the Europeans came over. It's the one part of the world where they didn't develop the idea of unicorn. But
Hmm.
turns out the unicorn was real once upon a time, as it were.
Uh-huh.
Um, they found a cave painting in France from about 13,000 years ago
Yes. Yeah.
of Lasmatherium. Now,
Hmm.
Lasmatherium, we all thought Lasmatherium from the fossil evidence had died out about 35, 40,000 years ago. But they seem to have survived into the post glacial age. And if you read the ancient Persian or the ancient Greek descriptions of unicorns, they are describing Lasmatherium.
Hmm.
Large, ferocious, huge horn on its forehead. The horn was about 2 meters long because the beastie was big. We're talking something the size of a mammoth. And imagine a herd of those charging at you. How
Ooh, man.
scary.
Yeah.
And that's why the Greeks and the Persians described the unicorn as one of the most dangerous creatures in the world.
Hmm.
A
With good
far
reason.
cry, yeah, a far cry from the fuzzy little things that we give our daughters that with pink tails.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And you know what I find fascinating too, which I know you've ran across this, is the fact that in medieval times and on, they used to get well, later on, they used to use narwhal
Yes.
teeth and sell them as, because that's a tooth, right? The
Yeah.
narwhal horn is actually made composited of tooth material. It's
Yes.
a tooth, and they used to sell those at markets as a unicorn horn.
Yeah. Queen Elizabeth I of England spent a fortune on one, as
Yeah,
did a number of others, and they were all deluded.
always
Believe it
found
or
that
not, yeah,
fascinating.
the narwhal scam was exposed by one of the most colorful people in history. His name was Old Worm. And yes, Old Worm.
Love it.
And he's one of those collectors of odds and ends and things that you find towards the tail end of the Renaissance. A Nazian scientist who was really exploring the natural world. And he wanted people to understand what you got there ain't a horn, it's a tooth, and it comes from a whale. And you've been taken for fools by people who are selling you fraud. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so silly. But the third one that's going to come out a little bit later than the Traveler's Guide to the 13th Century is a colorful look at how people lived in the 13th century. I'm not talking kings and queens and how they lived and tucked nice in their castles and palaces, worried that people are going to poison them and so looking to buy unicorn horns. No, I'm talking everyday people. So I didn't have the luxury of enough good information to cover all the same cities. But if you want to explore, as an example, well, the kind of birthday parties they threw in Leanne in the 13th century, well, you can read the book and find out. So that will be the third companion piece that came out of that novel. And that novel has a special place in my heart. Not only is it the first novel I ever got published, but it started out as a bedtime story for my kids. That in the midst of creating this thing, I suddenly realized I've got something that's good here that could be published. So I wrote it down and had a lot of fun with it. It's gotten great reviews and very well regarded. That's The Garden That Grew for the World, and it's the story of 5 brave women who attempt to save the life of the unicorn that walked with Adam and Eve in paradise by returning to Eden to feed it fruit from the tree of life. And so it's a journey quest, but not to destroy the great magical MacGuffin that needs to be thrown into the volcano. It's a journey quest of the old-fashioned kind. It's the kind of thing that the medievals were writing when they wrote journey quests, such as the quest for the Holy Grail. A quest for healing and for justice rather than for magical power or destroying great evil. And so it's a very beautiful, touching story. There were scenes in it where writing it actually made me break down in tears, even though I was on making this happen. So I personally find it very, very moving. And it's hopefully the January Hills crew can get it in the hands of somebody who wants to make a limited TV series or movie out of it.
That would be fantastic.
I knew you're working on that. Yeah,
yes,
definitely.
they are.
This is going on my Kindle. I'm going to tell you right now. You made a sale.
I'm deeply grateful, and I hope that you enjoy it. It was a lot of
I
fun.
definitely will. And I love that you are like an expert on unicorns because they're believed as mythical beings, just like dragons. And of course there were dragons. Of course there were unicorn, type beings. Of course there were.
Yep.
With everything like that, there's a little bit of truth in everything. They may not be exactly like what we're picturing, like you're saying, because they were the size of like woolly mammoths. They were huge, right?
Yes.
And they're not the frilly little,
Oh no.
unicorn and I, little.
The pop culture,
Yeah, the regular
version.
horse with the horn
Yeah.
type deal.
Yeah.
Now, how do you feel about Pegasus? What do you think?
Pegasus, I don't know much about Greek mythology, but I'll say this about Pegasus. It was a single creature, not a bunch of them. And it was a gift from the gods to one of the Greek heroes. And so the Greeks weren't describing it as you can find these in the fields. This was a specific gift from the gods to one of the chief heroes. I believe it was Theseus who it was given to, but I could be wrong. I'm not an expert on Greek mythology by any stretch of the imagination. And so I think that's an entirely different kettle of fish. But then
Mhm.
again, Greek mythology is a very, very odd kettle of fish.
Mhm.
I'm much more fascinated by Sumerian mythology. That's a lot
Hmm.
more fun, if you will.
Now
Um,
do have to jump in here. I know you're a modest fellow, but you sure do write centaurs and satyrs beautifully. So, so yeah,
you
you
know,
know a
they
little bit about these things.
I did do some research for them too. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, satyrs. Uh, wow, what a set of myths and stories and artwork about satyrs throughout the countless centuries. This primeval passion and lust that we all have um, embodied in these creatures. And I came across a delightful painting a few years back of a woman satyr sitting along the side of a road along with her entourage. It's obviously that she's aristocracy and the others are people that she knows and trusts. And she's wearing a Parisian hairdo, and she's got a lovely set of gloves that she's wearing, and an umbrella that she's got under her arm, and the painting is of her telling the others of the wonders of the Paris Expo in 1900. And what a delightful twist on the idea of the satyrs. Um, and so when I encountered that, I was in the process of starting to put together the book Absinthe and Alchemy. That's the
Mhm.
working title of it.
Nice.
And it's like, okay, she just inspired me on how to approach the satyrs so that they're not the stereotypical bundles of raw lust that comes down to us from Greek mythology. They can be something more, something deeper, something richer. Um, and so I started to build a culture around them. Since I wanted to hold on to the idea that satyrs um, loved grapes, they build their homes from grapevines that they weave together
It's
as
beautiful.
they grow up, and as they mature the patterns of the weaving becomes more complex, and as they become betrothed they start to weave with their betrothed during the weaving hours. They get to know each other more and more, and they're creating their homes for themselves out of their own efforts, and they maintain this their entire lives. And one of the sadder moments in the story is an elderly satyr. She's bedridden. She can no longer maintain her home. Her husband has passed away. She's sundered from her daughter. There's been some sort of argument. And so her granddaughter has become the go between. And um, reaches out to some of the humans in the story for help in getting her grandmother soup when she's ill. But you can see in the house as they walk into it how the weaving is no longer holding together, how there are holes in it that now permit water to drip through. And
Mhm.
it allowed me to create an entire culture of the satyrs where, yes, you get the delight in raw sexuality, but there's so much more there.
Absolutely, and yeah, I
Right.
thought that was one of the most
Deeper.
beautiful parts of your portrayal was, and I'm glad you talked about the how the betrothed come together to weave their own homes out of these out of the vines. I mean, because that's powerful stuff, and it also gives, I think, a good illustration of how you bring together, as I described earlier. I mean, elements of literary fiction, speculative fiction, and the poetic. Because yeah, I mean, there's world building here. There's poetry here, there's literary elements here. I mean, it's really
Mythology. Yeah.
you see, Holly, what I was telling you. I told you he's got it
Yeah.
all.
I mean, he sold a book. I right. I bought that,
Yeah.
and I would love your permission to actually uh, do a book cover. I would love to put your book cover on like a canvas print and actually hang it in by my bed
Oh, it's
here. I
beautiful.
love that. I love that cover. Absolutely love it.
Award-winning artist too, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't give you that permission legally because I don't own the covers rights.
Okay.
You'd have to talk to both the publisher, Dragonwell Publishing, as well as to the artist who they contracted with in order to make the cover. So
I definitely am going to look up that artist because I'm fascinated now.
David Johnson.
Yeah, and he's quite good. He's got some lovely covers. Lovely art that Dragonwell Publishing has turned into lovely covers.
Gorgeous. Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it fits. The cover is styled very much in the same, just as far as the layout with the reality, mythology, and fantasies of unicorns. That publisher did a good job of matching them.
Yeah, they did. The editors there are a delight to work with, and if we weren't pod people here, if we were on something that was visual, I could hold open the book and I could show you that inside there are these cute little glyphs and whatnot. And
nice.
It's really well done. They put a lot of love into it, and I'm delighted to be published by them. And
I will see it soon.
Titles coming out.
I will see it because I bought the book. So I cannot wait. I've actually went to his website, and I invite people to do so. Howard David Johnson. Mm-hmm. He does realistic art, classical and fantastic realism in paintings and pictures. We love to showcase artists, especially now since we're in the age of AI, right?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we love the purity of authors that write their own books, artists that do the cover, not AI. You know, AI is fine as a tool, but not as a crutch. So love it. Love it.
Now, I've read a few things that AI has produced, and it's the most wooden fiction imaginable.
Yeah.
Yes.
And absolutely no surprises. And one of the things
you're missing the human element.
Yeah, you don't get the kind of deep, meaningful moments that bring a UI. And that's why you read. That's why we share stories, is to bring awareness to things, to open each other's eyes, to
whisk us away, make us feel things, get us away from the real world, transport us to other realms, and bring us joy, bring us heartache. We want to feel,
and sometimes to help us deal with the real world better.
Exactly.
One of the reasons I wrote Johnny Talon and the Goddess of Love and War is to help people deal with addiction better. I don't know if you are all familiar with the ancient Sumerian myth of Inanna's descent into the underworld.
Absolutely. You bet I am.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Steve's into all that. Oh, yeah.
This book is a loving recast of that myth set in the modern world. Inanna was the Sumerian goddess of love and war. And if you've ever read Gilgamesh, in Gilgamesh, she sends the Bull of Heaven to try to get Gilgamesh and Enkidu to stop constant warfare. And Enkidu and Gilgamesh kill the Bull of Heaven. Now, the Bull of Heaven just happens to be the husband of her sister, Ereshkigal, the goddess of the underworld. And so she goes to visit her sister to pay her condolences. But, Inanna's a whore. She's the goddess of love and war. So she goes down like a whore does. She puts on her makeup. She puts on her best jewels. She puts on her best dress. She's a goddess. So she grabs all of her elements of power and she goes to hell. And they won't let her in. And she threatens all sorts of things if they won't let her in. And finally,
she's angry.
But they tell her, you have to surrender every element of power to the point where you're standing naked in hell. But she does it. And then in hell, she's judged, killed, and torn to pieces and hung up like a piece of meat on a hook, and eventually rescued by the chief of the gods. Now, all good myths help people through things. And the journey through addiction is a journey into hell where you
Sure.
get rid of everything that's valuable and good within your life until you're standing there raw, naked, defenseless. And if you cannot find a way to love who you are when you're at your worst, you won't get it through. And so uh, this story is a story about her starting to learn to love herself. I keep on saying she's a whore. She is a whore.
Uh-huh.
She's lived her life as a prostitute.
Right.
She has no idea she's the Sumerian goddess of love and war. She just knows that when she was a teenager, she was being sexually abused at school. Her drunken mother wouldn't listen to her, and so she runs away and becomes what her mother was calling her to begin with, because it was the only way to put bread on the table. And then she finally meets somebody lovely, and she changes her life to live with Jessica. And then Jessica dies of cancer. And despondent, she turns to drugs as her only way through her grief. She doesn't know how to handle it. And eventually comes to Johnny Talon, the detective in the story, for help. And she thinks she's only asking for help to retrieve some stolen things, because she's had everything in her life stolen from her at this point by an ex-boyfriend, because she's bi. Frankly, she'll sleep with anyone. Sex to her is just a joy as well as a way of making a living. And so Johnny, a drunken at the strip club where she's working, agrees to help her. But when he gets home that night, he has no remembrance of this because that's how drunk he was. And he gets home and he finds her in his apartment. No idea how she got there. Her dress is covered in blood. That's not hers. And she's saying, "You promised to help me. I'm going to hold you to that." And that's how the story begins. And many journeys through hell. You think of Dante's Inferno, you think of Virgil's Aeneid, have a guide. Well, Johnny is her guide through hell. And in the ancient Sumerian story of Ananda's descent into the underworld, she's there for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in this book, they go through hell 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Because a journey through addiction is not something that, oh, magically, you're no longer addicted. No, you'll be pulled back. The temptation never stops. You got to go through this again and again and again, clawing your way out. Now, that sounds like a really, really heavy topic for a story. And so I decided to approach this with a lot of whimsy. Have any of you ever watched the old Twin Peaks TV show?
Did you? How
Long time ago.
I watched a few things with
Yeah.
that, but yeah.
Long time
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah. Twin Peaks had a lot of humor to it.
Yes.
And the main detective was a transcendental detective, where he was using meditative techniques in order to try to get at the truth of who killed Laura Palmer. Well,
Right.
Johnny Talon is a surreal detective. He uses dreams and dream imagery to try to get at the truth of things, but he'll also explore non sequitur or a coincidence with passion, because it may not be a coincidence. This could be an avenue to discovery. And it's a lot of fun. Each time he goes to drive his car, the car is different. Each time she finds herself face to face with a monster, she finds herself suddenly naked. Well, she is a goddess of love and war. But each time she puts on clothing, it's different. And the book is ribald. It's deliberately off the wall. Kirkus, in their review of it, called it kooky.
Nice. That's a
That's yeah,
compliment, though, to
that's a
me.
Yeah,
I
compliment.
say that's
Yeah,
a
it's a
compliment.
huge
I'll take
compliment.
it.
Heck yeah.
Because I was channeling Alice in Wonderland as much as I was channeling Sumerian mythology. Because, reality is strange. And strange can be bewildering, but it could also be wonderful and fun and really hard to understand and confusing and twisted. So why not write a story that's bewildering, twisted, hard to understand at points, but a lot of fun to get through, and let these characters help each other through it the way that people help each other through things. And whether or not she succeeds in the end, well, I'm not going to spoil it.
No.
I say she goes through into hell 3 times. I don't say she comes out. And as for Johnny, well, there will be other Johnny Talon stories. In fact, I'm working on right now, based upon Norse mythology. I'm calling it. I'm calling
There
it.
we go. Yeah, I love it.
The Curious Case of the Mistletoe, a Johnny Talon story.
Nice.
And if you don't know what mistletoe is in Norse mythology, I'm sad. I'm very sad.
But before we get too far removed from Inyana, I do have to ask, because Erishkigal is a key character in one of my own series. I love the story around her as well. And with the Inanna story, I'm not asking for spoilers, but do you happen to have a representation of the Kurgara and the Galatur, the two little creatures? Are they? Don't have to tell me what happens, but are they part of this? That are part of that story. I love that. I love that part of
one of them might just be there.
Fantastic.
But right. Her door warden is certainly there.
Nice. Okay, great.
And
I was just curious.
And if you're a fan of Yellow Submarine, you'll recognize a scene. If you're a fan of Alice in Wonderland, you'll recognize a scene. If you're a fan of H.P. Lovecraft, you'll recognize a few things. And it might be a coincidence that the records department is in the Sony Records building, which just happens to be in hell. But I don't know why that happened to be. But, it's a little weird. But that's okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, the cover does evoke a little bit of a hint of the Lovecraftian in the tentacles on the cover. Yeah.
Well, he encounters a few. They encounter a few things like that across the way. My favorite is them doing battle on the streets of San Francisco with the tentacled creatures when they're aided by a bunch of kids with water pistols. And I'll leave that right there.
Sure, that sounds good. And that's because it seems this is like a real genre blender. Definitely looks like it's got a lot of different things going on, from urban fantasy to like you said, comedic aspects to mythical aspects, mythic fiction, and so forth.
And I love that, because people are ready to step outside the box, right? They're ready to read outside the box.
Sure are, yeah,
and blend all those genres together. And there are so many subgenres now. It's crazy. I mean, and I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, the way I look at it is there's only 3 genres. There's fiction, there's nonfiction, and there's poetry.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of it is all subgenres, and it's a matter of how nitpicky you get. And frankly, considering the nature of poetry, you have fiction within poetry and nonfiction within poetry.
Yes, you do. Yeah, you do.
Yeah. So, not 100% convinced that it's anything more than just fiction and nonfiction, and poetry just being a way of telling.
Mm-hmm. I love that approach. Yeah, because I never liked being boxed in by just genre labels. I know they have to do it in bookstores to help people find.
Yeah, because readers, a lot of readers get boxed in with that, and I did for years. I mean, for years, I was boxed in because, well, I'm a vampire, and so I love my vampire literature, so that's what I read. But still, I was reading nonfiction, fiction. I was still reading lore to fiction stories and Twilights and different things, and of course Anne Rice. She's my favorite. But I think it's fascinating that blending the genres, and that you go back and get the mythology, you study the the history behind it, and you weave that in to like a modern narrative, that's fascinating.
Yeah. Well,
And the
fantasy.
lucid dreams. I love the lucid dreams because Stephen and me, well, I'm a Christian Wiccan, which is bizarre in its own right, but I truly believe that lucid dreams, I believe that, loved ones are visiting you in your dreams because it's easier for them. It takes less energy. It requires less energy. They come into you as a, spirit manifestation. They visit you in their dreams. Stephen loves lucid dreaming because he writes. He bases a lot of his writing and things he'll study because of the lucid dreaming. And do you lucid dream? I mean, can
Absolutely.
you do. You do.
I have
Beautiful.
lucid dreamt for years upon years. I have at
Love it.
points
Yeah.
exerted control over my dreams,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
where I've changed how they're going because
Yes.
I
Yes,
became
Mm-hmm.
Stephen
aware in the
can do
middle of
that.
dreaming
I can.
that I was dreaming. I have had my father, now deceased, and my mother, now deceased, come to
Mm-hmm.
me in a number of
Yep.
dreams,
Yep.
and uh,
Same. Mm-hmm.
that was part of the reason why I made Johnny Talon a surreal detective, is because dreams are as real as anything else we encounter. We just don't
True.
understand them as well.
Agreed.
That's true.
And
One
Absolutely
hundred
agree.
percent.
Freudian
Mm-hmm.
analysis is such a bankrupt approach. I took a more Jungian
Oh.
approach to my dreams
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
because that grounds it a bit more in mythology and culture, and that's what I was trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
I pretty happy with the results, and I've been ecstatic with the reviews I've gotten and the recognition I've gotten with the book. It's a lot of fun. Um,
Well, would you
and
be, before we go too forward, would you
yeah,
be willing to share how you got control of your lucid dreaming? Because some people I know do like the clock method. I don't know if you've ever heard about it, but where
hmm
they focus on like a clock, time awareness in a dream, because time is a human construct. So that kind of binds us. And so they've
yeah.
looked at a watch or they'll look at a clock and be like, okay, I know I'm dreaming now. And then that way they could seize control. So
Mm-hmm.
can you share with us?
Um, it's nothing that formal, and I
Okay.
very, very rarely want to do it. I enjoy going for the wild ride. That is the dream. Um,
Agreed. I love that.
I'm not I enjoy the discovery of it, so I'm not looking to exert control. But there were a couple of points where I died in my dreams, and in one of them, um, I, I said, "Hey, stop! I'm dreaming. This isn't happening."
Mm-hmm.
That was the second time I died in my dreams. The first time I died in my dreams, it was just an axe to the head, and then I woke up. So
Mm-hmm.
um, that was before I was able to exert any kind of control. But it's only been in circumstances like that that um, I've brought myself consciously into my dream instead of just letting the dream be. And in letting the dream be, I'm exploring
Mm-hmm.
reality in a very different way. I don't need to be in control to learn from it. And so
Right.
I've never sought it except when I've needed to.
Mm-hmm.
And and that might be one of the reasons why I tend not to have nightmares.
Mm-hmm.
Is um, I I'm okay with just letting things be and let it rot and
Mm-hmm.
riding it out.
Yeah, we
Nice.
sounds like we're similar. My
Definitely.
awareness, I can get my awareness of where I am and what's happening by focusing on the detail and the reality and the solidity of everything around me, and that really clicks in that my awareness at least, but not in a control sense, if that makes sense. So
It
I'm not
does.
like yeah, but at least it kind of activates my awareness, so I know oh yeah I'm here, and that's what usually has led to some encounters with loved ones and things like that. That I've really gotten some special dreams. Yeah, as I call them. So,
I do love
but
the fact that that you're able to you don't have the nightmares. I have
mhm.
a lot of nightmares,
I can relate.
and
I
and
know he's talking
and I'm
about. Yeah,
aware. I'll be
yeah,
aware that I'm in a nightmare and a hellscape. I'm aware of this, but I haven't learned to completely control that yet. And I'll always wake up before I actually die. But yeah, it's it's fascinating how you
Yeah,
hmm
can eventually control that.
yeah. No, I've even had conversation with my dad
yeah.
about
Yeah, Stephen does.
him being dead and him being aware he's dead, and
Mhm.
hmm
that's a
hmm
non-issue, and we just continue the conversation.
Yep.
Um,
I've had a
Amazing.
similar. I can
Amazing.
relate.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. The visit I had with my mom was just last week, but she's only just passed away, a
Oh,
little over a week ago. So,
Oh
uh,
man, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't know. I
condolences.
didn't.
Oh
I
my
didn't know that.
God.
yeah. No,
Sorry.
I didn't know that.
it's been a really long year. In the past year, I've buried six people I love dearly, and
Oh,
she
Oh
and one
man,
of my oldest friends died on the same day, and so
oh.
I'm
uh,
sorry, Walt. I had no
It
idea that was
that's
going on.
it's a horrible thing, and we as humans, like I always tell Stephen, are we are we are selfish, right? We don't want to give them up, but we know they went to a better plane of existence. But we're human, and humans don't want to give up, and 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 it's just grief is an odd thing.
Yeah.
It really
it,
is.
it is. But a large part of my grief was watching her pass.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
It wasn't so much the
after
loss of her. It was the watching her suffer as she
yeah,
passed away.
yeah,
Uh,
hmm
yeah, you mentioned earlier
I,
I'm a
I've been there,
poet,
Walt.
and
Walt, I just want to let you know I've been
yeah,
where you are. Yeah, I
yeah.
understand.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind, I'd love to share something I wrote
Mhm.
about
Please,
this.
Sure, please
please.
do. Yeah.
There is not enough clothing I can put on to warm the chill from seeing what was left, and feeling warm hands. Her hands were never warm. If anything says that she is going elsewhere, it is her warm hands. The raspy, hurried breaths that can't pull in enough air, and the hurried heat of a body afraid to let go. She is no longer there. She slipped away many moments, forgetting the pot on the stove and how to step through an open door, forgetting her daughter's dead and wishing she'd visit, forgetting that the man before her is her son, until she forgot to breathe at last. There are not enough clothes to warm that chill, knowing that every word I said to her for a year was a tangled I love you, but it's okay to forget to be.
Oh,
Oh man.
oh, that made me tear up. Well,
Yeah.
that was
I wrote,
No.
that's touching. That's
yeah,
beautiful.
thank you. I wrote that just before she passed. We had
Mm.
visited her at her bedside. She had, we think at the end she had a stroke, but she had Alzheimer's and dementia. And you
Oh
do not want your relatives to have to suffer
no,
from those cruel, cruel illnesses
no.
hmm
that rob them of who they are and everything about them.
Yes.
The
hmm
hardest moment in my adult life, in many respects, was getting the phone call from the place where she was living. Hey, your mom is asking why her daughter's never visited. Could you put us
Yeah.
in touch with her? And my sister Catherine died when she was 4 months old.
Yeah. Yeah.
And 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 so having my mother have to lose her daughter twice, and me not being there to hug her because I was 1,000 miles away that day.
Yeah.
Um, saddest moment of my adult life. So I hope and pray for all of you that your loved ones don't have to
Yeah.
go through those illnesses. They're horrible,
hmm
horrible things.
It is.
They
It
are.
is
Oh
horrible.
yeah.
And I
Absolutely.
will say, I'm a retired nurse, and I worked geriatrics for decades. And until the last, 5 years, I did home health and was a wound specialist. But otherwise, I did geriatrics, and I worked on the Alzheimer's unit. And yeah, it is heartbreaking, and they have periods where they're lucid,
Yeah,
and I think that disturbed me more than anything because, I would sit on the bed with them and they would have their lucid moments and I'd let them talk and tell me, about it and put my arm around them and hug them while they cried. And then it was gone again. You
Yep.
know, they were back to, they didn't know where they were, who they were. And yeah, it is heartbreaking. And I do know we have come far in the past few years, as far as medicine to slow it down, medicine to treat it. But yeah, uh, we're nowhere near a cure
Yeah.
yet. I hope that we are one day, and I do not wish it on anyone. And I am so sorry you've had to go through that because I have dealt with it for years firsthand.
Yeah, well, thank you for all the help you did for everybody you treated. But
Well, thank you.
this is definitely going to be something I'm going to write about in the future. So
Mm-hmm.
some future story
Well,
of mine will deal with these things because that's just part of why we share stories with
that's
each
it.
other.
And Walt,
Yes.
feel free to contact me and pick my brain.
I may
I can
just
tell
do
you
that.
many stories.
Yeah, I
Feel
may just
free.
do that. But
Mm-hmm.
that I wrote Johnny Talon and the Goddess of Love and War because of too many people I knew who've had to deal with addiction, some successfully, some not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and, um, you know, to have such a journey, but being able to laugh while going through it,
Mm-hmm.
that's healing. To
true.
anyone who's going through that they can laugh with joy with the characters as they go through it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I wrote it that way. I'm extraordinarily proud of the
Mm-hmm.
reception that this book has gotten.
Yeah,
And
you need humor. Humor
yeah,
humor is
Yep.
such a healer and
Yep.
helper. Yeah.
and you need to find a way to love yourself, despite it all, through it all. That's the key.
Yep. That's true.
Uh, and it's the essential part is finding something to love within yourself and hanging on to that, no matter what you're going through at that moment.
And being comfortable with being alone with yourself. If you
Yes,
cannot be alone with yourself, then you've got to work on things because being solitary, not all the time, but sometimes you need that to reset, and you need that time to that space to heal, and you have to be comfortable, otherwise you've got to work through things because you cannot be dependent on others for how you feel about yourself.
that is so very true. The Absinthe and Alchemy book was written to explore two other things that people are dealing with right now, and that's why I'm so excited to get it out into the real world, that people read it. But because one of the things it's exploring is um, who are you within the world when who you thought you were, you can't be that person anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a journey that many people face. They build their entire life around this image they have of who they are within the world, and the rug is pulled out from them. They can't be that person anymore, and
Mm-hmm.
now they have to find a way of going forward, and that's the journey Emil faces.
Mm-hmm.
And in the context of a world in which people hate each other because of political differences,
Mm-hmm.
people who used to be friends will no
Mm-hmm.
longer talk to each other because of um, differences of opinion. And I started to write this book about 10 years ago about those exact two very issues and weaving them together um, in a story um, that's drawn very much from real life. These are
Mm-hmm.
things people are going through today and now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm desperately hoping that I can find a home for this thing, get it out into the world, and share it because, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, there's always something about yourself that you haven't discovered. That's something to become instead of who you thought you were. It's who you
Mm-hmm.
who you have the potential to be,
Yes.
and finding that and seeing that kind of journey expressed. And you were friends at one point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm
Finding
glad
a
you
way
brought.
back to, yeah, finding a way back to that despite everything.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the that aspect of this book, because I thought that was great, because you do it in such a way where people aren't going to get tangled up in what, for instance, we're dealing with in today's culture.
Yeah,
But it's done in such a way that you can look at the issue without getting turned off.
exactly.
It's really it's well done in the storytelling.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And that's why we need stories, is because
mm,
you need that emotional space, and to walk with somebody else on their journey will help you walk through life on your own. And
I
those are the
agree.
kind of stories that I love to write, and those are the kind of stories I love to read. Um, they're, they're the only kind of stories I've discovered. I can't write something just for fun. It has to have a deep theme to it. And once
Hmm.
I've encountered the theme, then it just pours out of me. But
Hmm.
I'm always it's a work of discovery.
Hmm.
Why does this story need to be? Why do I need to tell it before I can
Hmm.
do so?
I agree. I agree, because yeah, as a writer,
Purpose.
speaking as a writer, yeah, I believe, yeah, with my work, I always have to have those layers. Yeah, definitely. They can be read for in an entertainment sense, sure, but they definitely have to. Yeah, the thematic things are what really drive me. Yeah, too. So totally understand that. And yeah, you do it well. I mean, it's a
Thank you.
story that can be enjoyed, and it's a story that can be immersed in. Yeah, there's both aspects. It's both.
Yeah,
And that's what makes, I think that's what makes these yeah, great stuff.
thank you.
and
Thank you.
and, and actually, I do need to read Johnny Talon, the Goddess of Love and War. That sounds
Yeah.
like a
It's a
great ride.
hoot.
Yeah.
I'll warn you right now. You won't. It's the kind of story where you never know what's going to happen next.
Hey,
But
that's all right.
That's good. I love that.
it all gets tied together at the end. At the end, it will
Good.
all make sense that it happened that way.
Nice. Yeah, and I know your
I love
style of writing, so yeah, I look forward to this
that.
a lot.
Oh, it's a
So,
very different style.
yeah, very different style.
It's
All
a very
right.
different style. I wrote it almost a uh, noir detective kind of style. So
Nice.
it's got a
Oh,
very different voice to it than the Absinthe and Alchemy that you read.
wonderful. Wonderful.
And yeah, learning that the voice of the story is one of the fun things about writing the story, because each story should have its own voice depending upon what you're trying to do with it. It should come from the
Sure.
That's true.
characters within the story. And so the um,
Hmm.
the Garden to the Roof of the World has it's almost an old-fashioned kind of voice to it, as I'm trying to make it like the medieval romances. And one of the challenges for some of the readers is I'm accurate to historical attitudes. So, as an example, the the um, the woman of the story, at one point, one of them gets a period, and the attitude about her having her period is very much a 13th century attitude about it, rather than a modern view of life as a woman. And
That you're
and
spewing the
Oh,
demons.
yeah,
oh, sure.
and so
Well,
to
yeah.
some people reading it, they're like, "Oh, why are you doing it that way? That we don't think that way anymore." But they
No.
did in the 13th
They did.
century. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
they did.
I'm
They
trying
believed
to
it to be
present this.
unclean, and you were
Yeah,
unclean,
Well,
exactly,
and yeah,
exactly.
I'll be honest. I get thrown out of books when they're set in a certain time period, and they get anachronistic, where they take to today's views and attitudes, and just kind of
attitude. Yeah, it
shoehorn it in
throws
an
you.
ancient culture.
Well,
You kind of have to, if you want to make it live and breathe, you do have to take into
yeah,
account
it
the
throws you.
culture.
It
Yeah.
it, it does. It throws the reader off.
Hmm.
It can, and I
Hmm.
worked hard not to, but because historical attitudes about things have changed so radically, that can
Yeah.
throw some readers out too. So
True.
it's a risk you take as a writer. You can't write for everybody. You
That's
have
right.
No.
and
Find
That's
your
right.
audience. You
yeah,
got to find your audience.
and if you try
You
to
write
write for
for you.
everybody, no one's going to read it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I said. You write for you, and you will find an audience. There will be somebody out there. There's billions of people in this world, and you write for you. You write a story you love, you feel passionate about. There'll be others out there that will feel the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, you were describing yourself earlier as a Christian Wiccan. I
Yes.
think you will love um, Nimue within the story.
Ooh,
And I think you'll even more love what I do with Lilith within the story.
Lilith. Oh, that's my girl.
Oh, you just
Stephen
sold
knows that's my girl. I've
you
got a
just got
granddaughter named Lilith too, and it tickles me to death because Lilith is one of my triple goddesses.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
love Lilith.
Yeah. And Lilith's very, very interesting figure in Hebrew mythology.
How
And
did you do her? Did you do her as the first mother, or did
yes,
you more
no, no,
lean
not the
toward the
first
night
mother.
demon?
Not the first mother, the first woman.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
And uh,
Yeah.
so there's a bit of acrimony between her and Eve.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Uh, um,
Uh-huh.
but the unicorn, it was somebody they both loved. And the first unicorn was somebody who loved them both.
Oh,
And so the quest to save the unicorn that walked with both Lilith and Eve is what the story is all about. And it I blend together not just genres but mythologies, because all these wonderful mythologies revere the unicorn. So you'll find within this the mythology of the story, traditional mythologies, but also um, Jewish mythology, Christian
Mm-hmm.
mythology, Islamic mythology, Hindu mythology, Buddhist mythology, and the characters. There's a Hindu nun. There's a Buddhist monk. There's
ooh,
Thomas Aquinas makes a
Nice.
brief appearance. Madhva, who is a Hindu teacher, makes a brief appearance. You
nice,
will
nice.
meet Rumi, a Sufi saint.
Ooh, yes,
And by the way, all of these people were alive at the same time.
that's true.
Mm-hmm.
The people don't realize
In
that, but that's
yeah,
true. And
in the
and I
13th
I
century was a
share a
wonderful
lot of
time.
Rumi's teachings and memes and everything. I love Rumi. I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely adore it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you will meet Rumi and his teacher Shams within
nice,
the story,
nice.
and um, you'll also meet some interesting other characters, such as the last Caliph of Baghdad, the last Prince of Antioch, um, the not quite the first, but I think the fourth Sultan of the Delhi Sultanate, if I remember
Ooh,
correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I bring together mythology, history, and um, it's a story that's near and dear to my heart. So I'm thrilled that you purchased yourself a copy. Thank you very much. That's quite. I'm honored.
Mm-hmm.
I wish you much joy with it. Hopefully,
Yeah.
we run into each other at at the
oh, we will.
Oh,
I
you
will
will.
at the
Oh,
definitely seek
you
you
conference.
will.
out.
You will, because I
You will
definitely want to
definitely see me.
visit with
I'm
you.
all
Yeah.
over the place.
Yeah,
I'm the
Yeah.
one running around, the big gal, 6'1", a lot of hair. I have the 80s hair. You'll see me. I'm crazy. I'm loud. You'll hear me before you
You'll
see me.
hear her
I'm running
before you
around.
see
yeah,
her. Yeah.
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 Hello.
Well, I no longer have much in the way of hair. It gets a little less each day. But
Well, I would give you some gladly if I could, because
yeah,
I've got plenty.
yeah. The beard won't be quite as long as it is now. I let it grow thick for winter, but that's summer, so I'll have it trimmed down. I'll probably just have a goatee. But it's the
The
beard is
winter
thoroughly
beard.
wet
I
at this
love it.
point. Yeah.
He's
Love
got
it.
the winter beard, and see, I told you, Holly, he has a love of history. I told you, Walt loves
Oh my
history.
gosh. Yeah, we
I
could go on for
yeah,
hours. And I
yeah,
did want to talk to you about being like a mystic. I know we touched on a lot of
yes.
mystic topics, but about being a mystic in itself.
Hmm.
And I think it's funny because I called Steven a mystic, and that's because of the movie. But yeah,
The Dark Crystal she's referring
Ah,
to, because she says I'm as slow as the
she's a
creatures called
slow. He's as slow as a
slow.
mystic. That's how he moves.
yeah.
and
As
and
far
and
as
it,
my,
I am ADD, so my brain has 30 tabs open at
yeah,
one time, which
always an
starts to
adventure,
become
always an adventure.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
I will start to spiral. Opposites attract. So Steven's like, Holly, you're all over the place. You're all over the place. You're gonna
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, I've got this and this and this and this. He's like, I no, and I'll see the confusion in his eyes. He is a one task at a time. I'm doing
Well,
20 things.
except on my laptop, I do have 30 tabs on my
You
laptop
do. Well,
open
that's
at a
my
time. Yeah,
brain. You've got it
yeah,
open on your laptop. I do
yeah,
too, but my brain is also like that.
yeah.
So,
Now,
but yeah,
I'm not like my daughter in terms of her ADD, but I definitely am on the spectrum. Um,
hmm
and one of the reasons I write with music on is to help me focus. By giving my
Mhm.
brain multiple things to do
yes.
at once, I'm able to do multiple things at once rather readily. And music is a great focus for me.
I
uh,
also write with music.
Who do
I
you
also write
listen
with
to?
music.
oh,
I'm curious.
who don't I listen to? It kind of depends
Awesome.
upon the
I love it.
story.
Can't wait.
In writing Johnny Talon, I was listening to St. Vincent, P.J. Harvey, Hart.
Nice.
Nice.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I was listening to Carmen,
Uh huh.
uh, Grace Slick.
Oh, just talking about her to Holly the other night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, all sorts of either music about women or powerful music by women,
Hmm.
because
Nice.
I wanted to have in the back of my head the plethora of the many aspects of being woman within this tangled world as
So
I'm
what
trying
about
to.
Fleetwood Mac?
You know, I kind of burnt out of Fleetwood Mac back
Okay.
about a few decades ago.
Uh-huh.
Probably
But
around the 80s, I bet. Maybe.
yeah, yeah,
I
that,
never get
Yeah.
burnt out of
No, I
Fleetwood.
do love them, but I know what the period he's probably talking
I get
about.
it.
Yeah.
yeah.
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
The last album that they did together was a lot of fun, and I loved Christy McVie's songs on it.
Yeah.
Give me
Yeah.
lies, give me.
Love her voice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't turn to them for inspiration because
Hmm.
Okay.
their songs don't evoke power the way I was looking for in writing the Johnny Talon story.
Got it.
Sure.
Got it.
Yeah, in writing the Absinthe and Alchemy stuff, I listened to a lot of jazz.
Nah,
Um,
yeah.
Ooh.
I can
it,
see it.
Yes.
yeah, it's set
Yeah.
after all in what an alternative early 20th century Paris. And
Hmm.
so
Nice.
jazz just fit exactly what I was looking for. Jazz
Yes.
was emerging as
Mm.
an art
I
form in
can
this period of
totally see
time.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can totally see it.
And so
Hmm.
I spent a lot of time listening to jazz. Um, Once I'm done with the nonfiction that I'm working on, then I've got to pick the right songs for the latest Johnny Talon book, and for anything else I write. But yeah, I discover what each story needs as I'm writing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
May I
I do a
suggest?
soundtrack
I
approach
I
too, a
say
bit.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna suggest to you Led Zeppelin. Go down
Ah,
to Led
yeah,
Zeppelin. Rush. Rush is a big one with me and Steve. That's how we got together. Rush. You go
mm,
down that rabbit hole. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an
That
eye
would be,
opener.
yeah,
I
I can see Walt listening to them for a more experimental, very, something
Yeah.
that's really
I've
off the
only
charts.
heard one song by Rush, and it kind of turned me off.
The, the,
Oh,
I've never,
go
yeah, I'll
down
have to
the
explore
rabbit
it.
hole.
But I've listened. I'm 62. I was
Yep.
listening to Led Zeppelin when Led Zeppelin existed.
I'm
Yes.
jealous. I'm
Uh,
jealous.
Love.
I
I was
just missed
singing it
that period.
earlier. I
Yeah.
love Led Zeppelin.
No, I love Zeppelin, but I'm
I'm a
jealous of
huge
you
Zeppelin fan.
I'm jealous of you getting to hear them right when they were putting the albums out.
yeah, it was the latest. It was the last stuff that I got
Yeah.
to hear, and when
Presence and Through the Outdoor,
yeah,
Coda, all that stuff. Yeah.
yeah, Kashmir.
Or Casmere.
Um,
Oh,
Nice. Yeah.
and
yes.
that's my favorite of their pieces is Kashmir.
Love it. Yeah.
And but no, I'm more a Jefferson Starship kind of person when
Okay.
we're
Yes.
talking 70s rock and roll than Led
Sure.
Yep.
Zeppelin.
Yeah. I was
Yep.
Um,
talking to Holly, just like I said the other day, about that period for Jefferson Starship. We were
Yep.
just talking 2 nights ago about that.
yeah,
Yeah. Love it.
and whether it be the stuff off of Red Octopus or the stuff
Mm-hmm.
off of Earth or the stuff
Yes.
off of Freedom at Point Zero.
Great album. I
Yeah,
love that one.
but ironically, the other
The Mickey
7,
Thomas kind of period.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I'm also a huge ABBA fan.
Yeah.
Oh
I
my gosh, Stephen loves that's his what he calls guilty pleasure because Stephen writes.
Well,
He
I do
writes, let
listen
me
to
tell you,
heavier
we'll
music.
tell you real quick
Well,
what we
let's
write
not
to.
terrify Walt. Yeah,
No, but he writes the heavy metal, okay?
or
And I
hard
can
rock,
always tell
hard
when
rock,
he's
and yeah,
yes,
all kinds
he
of
is
stuff. Yeah.
writing a dark fantasy fight scene. I know when he's doing it because he's listening to some bad heavy, mean heavy metal. And I'm like, yeah, he's writing a
Well, a
fight
battle
scene.
scene, sure, a battle scene.
Battle
But
scene.
yeah,
I know when he's doing it.
yeah.
But he calls my music, what do you call it? Jellyfish music?
No, I got to explain to Walt what that is. When I say that, I say there's certain times that Holly's listening to a kind of music that you hear when you go to the Sea Ray exhibit at
Sea Ray.
aquarium. It's what they play at the aquarium at the Sea Ray exhibit. So I call it Sea Ray music. It's real
I love
tranquil,
Bocelli, right?
real upbeat.
I love
Well, I wouldn't.
Bocelli to
Yeah,
Metallica.
I
I
wouldn't
love
call Bocelli Sea Ray music, but no, that's totally
no,
different.
when
Yeah,
I'm writing, I don't want any voice. I need Beethoven. I need Mozart. I need my Sea Ray music. I need my
yeah.
Viking, Celtic,
Norwegian folk music.
Norwegian
That's what
folk
she's talking
music.
about. Yeah,
That's what I listen to.
yeah,
yeah.
I I have loved for years the music of the chieftains,
Yep,
Irish folk music.
Yeah.
I've never had a
absolutely.
story that I've needed to wrap that music around yet. I somehow have, even though I love that kind of work, I've
Mhm.
somehow never written anything that would fit to that music yet.
Yet.
Yes.
I've got a long way to go before I'm done writing, so
Well, there you go.
Absolutely. No,
curious to see
I
where that
want
journey
to
takes
see
me.
years of great works out of you. I'll tell you
Yep.
after getting to know you a
But you were
little bit.
talking about being a mystic a little while
Yeah.
ago.
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Um, I've been a mystic for more years than I can count. When I was a teenager, my dad taught me transcendental meditation.
Hmm.
Ooh.
Um, and there's a big story behind that I'm not certain I want to get into.
Okay.
Hmm.
But
Sure.
like like most people who learn meditation, you get to a point and it gets a little frightened. You can't remember when you breathed last, and then you stop because you can't remember when you breathed last, and that's
Right.
scary. Um, but when I was nearly killed, I was writhing in pain on the shop floor, body going into shock. I put myself into a meditative state in order to take my body out of shock.
Yep.
And um, and ever since then, I've been able to get past that scary moment where I can't remember if I breathed or not. The trouble is that I'm one of those who, when I'm in a deep meditative state, I will have conversations, and those are even more frightening. sometimes. Um, and some of those conversations have not entirely required me to be in a deep meditative state, but rather in a state of severe emotional distress.
Uh-huh.
I've had lengthy conversations with a psychotherapist about these to make certain I'm not mentally ill.
No, you're
And
not.
and in talking to them about the conversations and the challenges of them, no, exactly, Um, I'm not
No.
mentally ill. I'm not schizophrenic. I'm not hearing voices that are telling me to
Mm,
do destructive things,
right, right,
and they only happen in special moments. But so I've had I like to tell my wife I had a couple of arguments with God that I lost, and that's good.
right.
Um, but
Been
that's
there.
essentially what they were, is discussions with God. The one that I'm willing to talk about openly. I was in grad school. I had just flunked out for a variety of different reasons, one of which had to deal with mental health challenges that I had in grad school from being nearly killed and not recovering enough from that before I started grad school. If you're recognizing that in the challenge of Emil in Absinthe and Alchemy, yes, that story is drawn just a little bit from personal experience. Um, and I went for a long walk intending to end it. I could not see any path forward in my life. I was heartbroken. I had no sense of self worth or value, and I was angry and yelling at God. And I got put in my place. I got put in my place fast. And I came back with a sense of purpose of being that shook me, because it's not exactly what I expected to come out of that sort of thing with. But essentially, I'm not here to do something. I'm here to be something. Specifically, I'm here to be my wife's husband and to be the best possible husband for her I can possibly be. That is my vocation in life. Um, that's where I need to pour my truest essence and all of my energy. And each time I get caught up, I need to touch that wellspring of this is at the core of who I need to be within the world. And that gets me through whatever it is I need to face, including this horrendous past year that I've only alleged about some of the things that have happened this past year. I trust me, I haven't but scratched the surface. And mentioning 6 people who have died, that's just the tip. So, um, yeah, I'm a mystic, but I'm also a tiny bit afraid to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh, well, yeah,
and
it is frightening, right?
yeah,
Because
Can be. Mm-hmm.
you
yeah,
are stepping outside of the meat suit, as I
hmm
call it, and to your actual being, your soul.
yes,
The
and you can
soul is your actual person.
yeah, and you can see things and experience things that are not logical, that
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
don't
yes,
fit within our understanding of the world. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
the last time I
Absolutely.
was in such a state, I was in church praying because I am a Roman Catholic,
Uh-huh.
and my father had been an ordained deacon in the Roman Catholic tradition,
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
and he was there present at Mass at the altar in vestments. He had been dead at that point for a few years, but he
Right.
was there present at that
100%.
moment.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty much the last time that I've put myself into that kind of state. And because that scared me.
Mm-hmm.
It is
Uh,
scary, but
It
but
can be.
but when
Yeah.
you look out of it, that's our true state. Our true state is not this meat suit. Our true state is our soul
yes.
and our energy, our essence, which is connected to the ancestors. And they look over us at all times. We can always tap into that. It's there if you're willing to, you know, welcome that in.
Well, the way that I've been exploring it, where um, I have a measurement of safety,
Uh-huh.
is through my writing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
One of the things I discussed with my father, he was also mystic, is how one of the ways in which I um, am very mystical is in my approach to creating both poetry and fiction. They are and they are very much a mystical journey that I'm going through when writing, in my approach to them, especially the my fiction, and that comes out
Mm-hmm.
to people who know how to look for it, and it's just who I am. And
Mm-hmm.
so each one of the books that I write, um, we talk about theme, but for me, it's more than just a theme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the book itself is a spiritual journey,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and
Absolutely.
and and all three of them have been explicitly a spiritual journey for those who know how to read for that, and for those who don't, it's a fun story. It's
Mm-hmm.
um, very entertaining, rich with interesting characters doing interesting things. You never have to crack that part of the story open if that's not who you are. But
Mm-hmm.
if that's who you are, it will open up a wealth of questioning,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the part I've focused on the most when I'm exploring within a story is what are the right questions to ask and how to explore them. I never look for answers. I find people who need answers are frightened, and they're looking for somebody else to tell them how to live their life within the world. And so my stories don't give people answers. It's constantly opening up the next question. Each question is the doorway to another one, which is the doorway to another one, the doorway to another one. And as you go further in, it gets deeper and more expansive and um, and richer.
Yes.
And
Further down the rabbit hole,
well,
as
Or,
I call.
yeah,
or like C.S. Lewis, further up and further in, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
both both are limited ways to describe what a spiritual
Yeah.
journey is.
Yeah.
And the only thing I like about Campbell's idea of the hero's journey, the only thing he got right, is that you come back out of it, you
Mm-hmm.
return, and then you have to live within the world through what you've just gone through. And that's the part that George Lucas left out in his Star Wars trilogy. He never
Uh-huh.
goes there. But that's the important part. That's the only important part of the so-called hero's journey. Is it's got to uh, it's got to bring the hero back so that they can live with the consequences of everything they've just gone through.
Right. And their actions, because a true hero has not all done good things. They've
Mhm.
also been a villain at one point. And they're not perfect, right? They're
Exactly.
imperfect like any human. So that's the true hero journey.
Yes. And so my stories don't follow the hero's journey as a way of telling a story. I don't write to a formula, and I find formulaic writing exceedingly boring.
Yep,
But
I agree.
that part of Campbell's idea, that's the valuable part of his idea, is that the hero has to be changed by what they go through. And by change, that doesn't necessarily mean that they come out ahead. Sometimes that means that they come out broken. The thing that made The
Mm-hmm.
Lord of the Rings so beautiful to all of the readers is that Frodo at the end is too broken to live
Mm-hmm.
with the world. It
Mm-hmm.
just trying to be is frequently too painful to be born.
Sure.
And to all who went through World War One and World War Two and other strifes, um, that resonates.
Mm-hmm.
And
100%.
so to write a story um, where you've done what you set out to do, evil was defeated within the world, but in the process, I've been defeated too.
Mm-hmm.
That's a powerful, powerful story, and um,
Agree. Mm-hmm.
that's the kind of
100%.
and so each one of my stories, I've tried to um, have the characters be changed by what they've gone through.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily the way Tolkien did, but
Sure.
that change is essential
Mm-hmm.
for the story. And if I do it well, um, then I'm proud of it because that's the most important part of storytelling is helping your reader um, go through the change with the character so that it resonates.
So let me ask, do you, obviously I know you vary from this, but the age old myth is that you, as an author, go from beginning, conflict, end.
Oh,
That's very formula.
that's very Western.
Yes, I would
Um,
like you to speak on that, if you would, just a second.
One of my major literary influences in Johnny Talon and the Goddess of Love and War is Hirokazu Murakami, who's a Japanese author who writes surreal literature. You may have heard of Kafka on the Shore as
Mm-hmm.
um, it's one of his more approachable works. Then there's works like 1Q84 or the Hard Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World, or the Wind Up Bird Chronicle.
Yeah.
All delightful, delightful stories. But one of the things that Murakami does, many Japanese authors do, is they don't start from, they're not writing about a conflict. Um, they're presenting a problem instead of a conflict.
Uh-huh.
And the character is working on that problem. And in the process, there is a twist, a change. That's not necessarily resolution, but it brings about the end of the narrative. It's a 4 act structure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm struggling to remember the Japanese name for it, but the form of storytelling is very different because it's not conflict oriented. And though that won't mean that there isn't conflict there.
Right.
And often the problem that they're trying to solve is part of what's driving the conflict. But when you're reading Hard Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World, um, it's 2 stories woven together about 2 sides of the same character's life, and
Mm-hmm.
the character is essentially dying, and he doesn't know it. And so the one part of the story is pre-death, and the other part of the story is post-death. Except there's a twist after the post-death, And that's the most important part, is that particular twist, as he's able to step away from um, the afterlife he finds himself within at the end of the world. Because end of world stories are all about death and ways of um, finding ways to help people deal with their dying. And it's a fascinating and rich story. And what I find most fascinating is that the author um, continued to wrestle with it. Um, he wasn't entirely satisfied with his approach to it, and so he just released his latest book, "The City and Its Uncertain Walls," in which he returns to that same city, which I just described as where this one character had died, but he returns to it differently. And he explores this from a different perspective with a different kind of a twist. And I learned a lot from reading his stories. One of the most fascinating things about reading 1Q84 is he has, again, two stories interwoven with each other. In this particular case, two protagonists, one who's active in half the story and one who's passive in half the story. And in the middle of the story, who's active and who's passive changes. They swap roles. And then from that point forward, he who had been passive becomes active, and she who had been active becomes passive, until they finally meet in the closing act of the story. Um, and it's a fascinating approach to storytelling, especially since we're always told that character-driven novel, the character has to be doing something for it to be interesting. And here he's got a character doing nothing, and it's fascinating. It's it's breathtaking how he pulls that off.
That's awesome.
That's a neat
Yeah.
way of looking at it, and a different way of writing. And
Yes.
I'm like you. I don't like to stick to a formula.
No,
Um,
no, no, not at
and
all.
it's never works. Go off on your own. Do something new. Uh, go off the formula. And I think people appreciate that. I really do.
Hmm.
I
I
think
Yeah.
do.
readers actually appreciate it.
Yeah, and take some chances. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you have to write the story that's within you, and
Exactly.
formulas can help a new author learn how to
Yes.
tell a story,
Yeah.
Yes.
but they can also restrict and
Yeah.
strangle your
Yeah, and get them in a
creativity.
corner.
You
Yep.
start thinking it's a
Uh,
boundary. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
the good authors will find a way past that,
Hmm.
and those are the ones whose stories can be remembered.
Right.
Hmm.
The ones who stick within the formula, those will be the stories that eventually get forgotten.
Hmm.
And it may take a generation or two before that happens,
Right.
but it does happen,
It does.
and so
Hmm.
the popular authors of a century ago,
Hmm.
with very few exceptions, are not read anymore because their
Exactly.
stories never broke out of the formula of the century ago.
Right.
Right.
And then you'll get a Charles Dickens whose stories did break
You'll
out.
get a Bram Stoker. You get a
Yeah,
Mary
exactly.
Shelley. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
Hmm.
And by the way, you mentioned vampires earlier. Bram Stoker is the only author of a vampire story that I've been able to his work I've been able to finish. I read Dracula when I was 10,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
what a powerful story that
Uh-huh.
is! How well written, um, delightful.
And the way that the way it was written, it wasn't a formula. at
No, it
all.
was not. Yeah,
Mm-mm.
though though
And that's what
epistem.
confuses
Yeah,
a lot of people. It wasn't a formula.
yeah. Though writing stories based upon letters to each other and diary entries was
Right.
something that
Mm-hmm.
was big back then.
Mm-hmm.
So that he took that particular formula and took it in a different direction,
Yeah.
um,
Mm-hmm.
and and that's part of what makes Dracula last. Is he used the tools that his readers expected him to use, and then twisted them in a new direction.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Right.
if you've ever read Our Mutual Friend by David, sorry, not Charles Dickens. I was about to call him
Mm-hmm.
David Copperfield, but I'm tired. Uh, our, he was in the process of writing one of his typical critiques of Victorian society
Uh-huh.
when he encountered a sub story that just took over the rest of the narrative, and he found himself writing a modern novel in the midst of this Victorian novel, and it overwhelmed the rest of the narrative.
Right.
And at towards the end, he's realized he's got to try to get back to the original story and tie it all up, but he does so kind of awkwardly. But then you start, by the time you're done with it, if you're reading it critically, you recognize that Charles Dickens just discovered a new way of writing and got lost in it, fascinated with it, a character-driven story in a way that he had never explored before, never knew could be done before. Um, and so when you're reading The Mystery of Edmund Drood, it's completely different than every other Charles Dickens story, precisely because he's just learned a new way of telling a story. And the sad tragedy of it is that he died before it could be completed. But that
Right.
almost happened to him in the middle of writing Our Mutual Friend. He almost died in the middle of that one.
Well, I tell you what, I I don't wish death on nobody, but A Tale of Two Cities is like my most hated book ever, and Stephen knows this. I love Charles Dickens. I love the Victorian era. That's like my favorite. But A
No.
Tale of Two Cities, I just loathe with all of my being. I cannot help it. I
Uh,
just have
Yeah.
to say it.
That is. Oh, you'll have fun, Walt. If you ever want to kind of kid or tease Holly, yeah, go with a Tale of Two Cities theme.
Oh,
It's fun. It's fun. I have a lot of fun with
no.
that.
are you have you ever watched what they did with it in Star Trek: A Wrath of Khan?
Yes.
Well, yes, yes.
Yes. I'm a Trekkie. Yes.
Um,
It
what
was
do
much
they?
better as as Star Trek than it was written as the novel.
Yeah, well,
That's Holly
Dickens.
does not fond of that novel, but
Yeah,
it's fun.
No.
Dickens' novel Tale of Two Cities has great lines in it,
Oh,
Uh-huh.
but it's one of
uh,
those stories where if he had encountered a different way to write that he later encountered and
Mm-hmm.
had written it using that tool set, it would have been a worthwhile story. But because of how he knew to write when he was writing it, he didn't have the tools to write that story in a way that easily resonates um, with people today, because his characters are caricatures, and they're none of them. They're because he said it within historical events. Their actions aren't driving what's happening.
right.
It's and this was perfectly acceptable back then, but it's not acceptable today and now,
No,
Mm-hmm.
and
I
that's
agree.
okay.
It is okay.
Yeah,
That's
but
what I
it's
said.
given
It
us some of the most memorable lines in literature.
true. And like I said, you're not going to write something that's going to be everybody's cup of tea.
That is
You
very
know,
true.
you're not
Uh,
going to please everybody, and Charles did not please me with that one.
have you
Um,
read Our Mutual Friend?
I have not read that one. I need
It
to.
Yeah, it starts out with a a servant and his wife who accidentally inherit a fortune because the man it was supposed to go to has suddenly perished on his way to claim his fortune. Um, and um, and so it looks like it's going to be his typical comedy of wealth and how it twists people, especially when they don't know how to handle it, and how wealth can corrupt perfectly lovely people. Except that's not what the book turns out to be about. Because
Right.
there's, in the midst of this book, there's this young um, woman, Lizzie Hexam, who's meant to be a bit character, um, who finds herself being sexually harassed by a school teacher,
Uh-huh.
who very, very much wants to be her husband, as if
Uh-huh.
not, but certainly lover.
Right.
But there's this despicable, ne'er do well aristocrat who is your typical Dickens villain,
Mm-hmm.
who turns out to be one of the heroes of the story.
Yep.
And because he finds a way to change, and it's his journey of change, internal change. Imagine that in a Charles Dickens story. Character growth and development in a Charles Dickens story.
Mm-hmm.
Eugene Rayburn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's remarkable. Watch as a somebody who writes fiction, watching him learn how to do that within his stories. Because you read David Copperfield, no character grows in David Copperfield, not a single one. There are characters who are rescued in David
Right.
Copperfield, but
Right.
none of them grow.
You are definitely going to have to come back, Walt, and we're going
Yes.
to have a deeper
Yeah,
discussion.
I told you you'd
Um,
love Walt. I told you you'd
I
love
mean,
Walt.
this is, oh my gosh, this is so fascinating. So after the holidays, we've got
Yeah,
to get you rescheduled, and we're going to have to go into deeper dive of things,
of a few things.
and
Yeah,
see what you're working on.
yeah. We
But
could do a
yeah,
4 hour. We could do a
we
4 hour
have went
episode with him.
way over, and I'm
But
glad because our
I'm
listeners
glad
are going to
too.
love this.
But
I've
this
had
is
so much fun.
a great Thanksgiving special, and now everybody knows to send Holly a Tale of Two Cities
Don't you dare!
themed gifts.
Don't you dare!
It
Send
is
me
a far,
wine.
far better.
Send me wine. Send me vampire blood wine. Whatever.
Yeah.
Do
Oh, a
not send me a
vampire
television.
version of Tale of Two Cities. Oh, I can see it
No,
now.
no.
Well, it's been
No.
a pleasure to sit
Absolutely.
We've
and
had
chat
so
with
much
you this
fun.
evening.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it has been
gosh.
a blast.
Thank you,
And I'm
Walt.
looking forward to
I would
meeting you
definitely be in
both.
touch.
Yes, and I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to meeting you both in person next July.
Well, that's going to happen, and
Well, you
we'll
will
talk to you
hear me
before then.
before you see me, but
Yeah,
you'll see me.
you'll
Steve,
know. You'll
Stephen
know.
Holly, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Take care of yourselves.
You too.
You
Enjoy.
too.
Bye bye.
You
Take care,
too.
Walt.
Bye bye. Good night, hon.
Night. All right, Holly.
All right. Join us next Wednesday, same place, same time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard. Another great guest, another great chat. For the rest of the week, be creative and happy Thanksgiving. Be
Thanksgiving,
thankful.
everybody.
Yes. Good night.